What is up, guys? I do hope you're well, and welcome to another video from the r/DaddyCringe subreddit. If you would like your story shared, don't forget to post it on r/DaddyCringe. If you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe button, and maybe even the notification bell. And let's get started. Now we have a story from Rumdell. EP thinks I'm abusive because my horse coughed. Here we go. This happened to me several years ago while I was 15. At the time, I owned a horse named Oscar. He was a black gypsy cob with a white stripe down his face. On this particular day, it was sunny, hot and dusty. I had Oscar tied up outside as I tacked him up, as me and my 4 other friends were all going riding to the lake because of the heat. While I'm grooming Oscar and putting on his saddle, I see a mother and a small child walking around the farm. Let's call them EM and C. The little girl, about 4, sees Oscar and immediately starts cooing, "Horsey, horsey," as she reached towards him. She was a sweet and adorable little girl, so I let her pet him as she asked his name, and even gave her a polo mint to feed him. Is that actually a thing? You know, I've said that before, like on TV, like giving horses mints and stuff. Do they really love them? Due to the dust and heat, Oscar started to cough. When a horse coughs, their whole body jumps, and it looks painful, but it's totally normal. He coughs numerous times, so I quickly adjust his saddle so I can get him some water. The child seems worried. Is he okay? Is he sick? No, sweetheart, he's just got a frog in his throat. Will you take him to the vet? It's an innocent question, so I don't pay much attention. He doesn't need the vet, he's just thirsty. I'll get his water. I leave Oscar and the girl to fill up a small bucket of water, but when I return, her mother is standing there, holding the still worried child in her arms. Excuse me, do you own this horse? Yes, I do. Is something wrong? EM snaps at me. Yes, there's something wrong. C told me your horse is sick and needs a vet, but you won't take him. I'm a little shocked by this, as Oscar is happily drinking his water and is the picture of health. Oscar doesn't need a vet. He's just thirsty. I told C this. The EM was not having this. Your horse was coughing. You need to take him to a vet. Her sudden shouting gave Oscar a fright. He snorted and pulled back against his rope with his ears back. I went to settle him while she continued. You shouldn't have a horse if you're going to ignore his health. I should call the SPCA. Please go away. My horse is not sick. He does not need the vet. The EM continues to berate me for the horse's non-existent health problems. She is crying at this point because her mother's nervous shouting and Oscar's nervous dancing on the spot. The whole yard is watching, but do not intervene. It is a known horseman rule that when someone is dealing with a high-strung and flighty horse, allow only one person to deal with it. The flighty and high-strung horse in this question being the EM. Finally, the farmer, F, stormed over, having heard the commotion. The farmer looks around angrily. What's going on? EM points her finger at me like a pistol. This girl is neglecting her horse. F looks at Oscar standing there with his shiny coat and fat barrel belly as he contentedly munched on his hay. Nothing wrong at all. Farmer says, OP has had Oscar for 2 years. She is not abusive. You've been scaring the horses and mistreating one of my liveries. I want you off my land, now. EM seems to totally ignore him. Not until you call the SPCA. Farmer then says, I'll call the police if you don't leave. Get. That finally got the EM to leave, dragging her upset daughter with her. Everyone is a bit upset over what happened, but we still went on that trek. Oscar was a little jumpy and anxious for the rest of the day, but was fine. I've had clueless people approach me on my horse before, but this was a whole new level. But on the bright side, I did see this sweet little girl many more times on the yard, but with her father or grandmother. 2 people who thankfully understood that an animal coughing is not a cruelty issue. I don't doubt the woman's heart was in the right place, but there are better ways to handle things. Yeah, I totally get what you mean. I can see that the woman's heart in the right place, because obviously she's trying to look out for the pet's best interest. But yeah, when you haven't got a clue on what the fuck you're dealing with, you don't try to deal with it. It's quite simple, isn't it, really? I mean, and you got, again, it's one of these ones where you feel sorry for the kid, because the kid is obviously massively concerned about the animal. But then the mother comes along shouting and just upsets the whole situation, upsets the horse, upsets her daughter, upsets you, and just pisses everyone else. So it gets no one anywhere in the end. But thank you so much for sharing that story. I hope you and your horse are doing well. Now we have a story from Amthab. Again, I've seen that name before. I don't know if I pronounced it right the last time, so sorry if I got it wrong. your birthday cake belongs to me now. When I was a little ankle biter, under kindergarten age, so 4 or younger, I don't remember for sure, I went to daycare while my mum worked. I was a babysitter's wet dream because I was timid and never disobeyed or acted out. I was too worried about not being liked. My biggest problem was that other kids would sometimes single me out to pick on because they knew I wouldn't retaliate. Unfortunately, my mum picked an extremely entitled hosebeast of a woman to watch me. It wasn't her fault on the surface. Dolly seemed perfect and all the kids seemed to love her. Her program was pretty good, clean facilities, the works. She really seemed legit. Apparently there was just something about me that really bothered her. She would do low-key petty things to make me cry or hurt my feelings, but since I was a timid child, it never occurred to me to tell on her. When she was mean to me, it was tantamount to being in trouble for me. I didn't want my mum to know how I got in trouble, so I never said anything. I managed to tolerate it until my birthday came round. Birthdays were a big deal in my house, and my cake that year was awesome. A local artist made an amazing Sesame Street cake in the shape of Big Bird. It was beautiful and delicious. Our family had a little the night before, and the next day my mum wrapped the cake up and brought it with me to share with everyone at daycare. She spoke to Dolly and made sure it was okay. There was a lunch and snack time every day, and Dolly assured my mum that it was fine. I want to reiterate that this cake had barely been touched. Maybe 3 pieces had been eaten and there was plenty left. All day long I was so excited. I'm thinking about the delicious cake and how excited my friends are going to be when this beautiful cake is brought out and cut up. I even was thinking / hoping in the back of my mind that they might even sing happy birthday to me. I had this cake built up in my mind to be a birthday party. Even to adult me, cake is always a party, but I digress. You know how it is when you're a kid and excited for something. That thing becomes your whole world. Visions of chocolate Big Bird danced in my head through a reading circle, through sing and play, and through all morning activities. By the time lunchtime comes, that cake is looming so large in my head that thoughts of anything else are crowded out. The level of excitement is the kind of thing that adults never experience. You forget how to be that excited when you start adulting. That cake was the alpha and omega, the beginning and the end. There was a stairway to heaven somewhere, and that cake was at the top of it. That's how excited I was. Oh man, this is gonna end badly. Oh no, I'm getting upset already. So finally the time comes. The cake is brought out and the kids are all ooh and ah. Big Bird is cut up and slices are duly handed around. The kid next to me gets a piece. The kid on my other side gets a piece. Everyone gets a piece of chocolate Big Bird. Except me. I'm starting to low-key panic. But I feel certain that either a mistake was made or maybe Dolly was going to serve me last, maybe after they sang happy birthday. Nope. When Dolly takes the cake back into the kitchen area, I muster up every bit of courage I have and I approach her. Excuse me, Miss Dolly. Damn it, you've actually written it out. I can't avoid doing some sort of voice. Excuse me, Miss Dolly. I had a lisp back then. Dolly coldly. Yes, OP, what is it? I'm sorry, but I didn't get any cake. And? Did you forget me? No, I did not. Your mother said this cake was for the class. She did not say it was for you. It was for my birthday. We brought it to share, but I was supposed to have a piece. You already had some at home. You don't need any more. She then starts wrapping the cake, of which there is plenty left, in tinfoil. My family will really enjoy this after dinner. Be sure to thank your mum. By this time, disappointed tears are rolling down my face, and the sight of her wrapping up that beautiful cake, knowing she's going to keep it all for herself, was just too much for me. I began to sob broken-heartedly. As punishment for crying, I guess, I had to stand in the kitchen doorway by myself for the rest of snack time and watch as she and my friends ate my birthday cake. She made a big show of visually enjoying the cake too. This time, I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, so I did tell my mum. It didn't happen till later that night though. It took me a while to get up the courage, because I was going up against a grown-up. My mum was mad, and she went to talk to Dolly the first thing next morning. Of course Dolly lied about it, but my mother, who knew my nature, took me at my word, and I never had to spend time in that woman's care again. I had a babysitter for a while, and eventually she found another place for me to go, until I was old enough for school. That didn't bring back Big Bird though. Rip, you delicious bastard. This was over 40 years ago, and to this day, it still strikes me as one of the meanest things that an adult can do to a kid. Being left out is bad, but being left out on your own birthday is heartbreaking. And I knew it was going to end in a shitty way. Damn it! I was hoping he was at least going to get a piece of Big Bird in the end. That is so frustrating. Let's hope Dolly, I'm sorry, this is going to sound mean, has suffered something really bad, because that took the piss. How could you do that to a child? Knowing a child will be excited to share a cake with their friends, and then to leave them out, even when they come and ask for it and say they're going to take it home and eat it for themselves. That is some sadistic shit. How is that person in care of any child? And if she's done that to you, what other stuff has she done to other children? I mean, it sounds pretty petty, but that is vindictive. That is really dodgy behaviour to do to a child, to make them want to feel suffering in that way. Holy shit, man. If you send me your address, I will personally make you a Big Bird cake and I will send it your way. Much love, my dude. And I'm so sorry you're still suffering with that memory, because that is actually really heartbreaking. Much love. Now we have a story from Dino Pasta 99. Give my son your game. It's a heart monitor. Before you read, this might be a bit graphic. You've been warned. Insert cheesy formatting apology here. So this happened yesterday, and I'm still pissed about it. For some context, 3 weeks ago, I had my wisdom teeth removed. The surgery itself went fine, but then 4 days later, I was in class and noticed my mouth filling with blood. I freaked the hell out and rushed to the bathroom. I called my dad and he rushed me to urgent care. They couldn't help, so we went by ambulance to a different hospital. They also couldn't help, so I took another ambulance trip to a different hospital, which was able to finally help stop the bleeding. I bled for 11 hours through my mouth, had 2 10-second long mini seizures, had a mini heart attack, lost half my blood count, and became blue and cold in my hands, feet and lips. I forgot to mention that I have complex congenital heart disease and, oh my Jesus, antiphospholipid syndrome. Now again, I don't know whether I got that right. I must have just tried that about 10 times. You're not going to hear all those 10 times, but I tried it. Clotting disorder. This is important for the story. So yesterday I had a follow-up appointment with my cardiologist, heart doctor, and everything went fine. But she decided to give me a Holter/take-home heart monitor to record data. Not even 2 minutes after leaving the room, I see this mother and her kid, no older than 6 or 7, yelling at a nurse for whatever reason. Cast EM, entitled mother, NK nice kid, mum, my mum, N nurse, me, Pikachu. Entitled mother says, my son needs to be seen now, he's in pain and very bored. This kid was busy looking at a fish tank. I'm sorry, but you need to wait in the waiting room, he'll be called soon, plus there's toys and a movie running for the kids. EM scoffs and goes to walk away when she sees me with my Holter. She approaches me with a shit-eating grin on her face, and I knew I was in trouble. Give me your game. My son is bored and in pain. Sorry, this isn't a game. It's a heart monitor. Bullshit. I know that's a portable game. The heart monitor literally has visible wires leading up to my chest, clearly indicating that it's not a game. Give it here. You're too old for games anyway. EM goes to snatch my monitor from my hand, but I backed away quickly, as I don't like being lunged at or approached quickly, especially by people I don't know. My mum is very protective of me and gets between us and yells at her. I think twice before approaching her again. Now back the hell off. At this point I'm in tears because I've been very emotional due to the recent events. EM goes to walk by me to go somewhere else or something, but not before subtly grabbing my monitor off my pants, which I clipped to the loop. It apparently wasn't clipped all the way, and she grabs the monitor, goes to run off, while ditching her kid might I add, but is stopped by me screaming in pain due to the leads of wires being ripped off my body. It didn't hurt as much, but it was uncomfortable and I wasn't expecting it, causing my yelling. At this point I'm in the fetal position, but on my knees, shaking and crying. At this point N rushes over to see what's going on. EM lies and says that I stole her son's heart monitor. The nurse wasn't an idiot, because she sees me on the floor, crying, shaking and being comforted by my mum. It takes 3 security guards to finally escort her and her kid out, but she doesn't leave without playing the victim card. I end up having to go back to my cardiologist down the hall and having her reattach the leads. We leave and go to Denny's for pancakes and chocolate shakes. Now that is a way to end the story. Pancakes and chocolate shakes? I'm in. But holy shit, how did she not see the leads leading to your chest and to rip them off? I'm assuming you're a child of some sort or a teenager. To rip them off some anyone actually, is just absolutely ridiculous and could have been incredibly dangerous. Thank you very much for sharing that story, DinoPaston99. And I have to read up about the clotting disorder and the complex congenital heart disease because I don't know nothing about them. And it will be nice to learn something new today. Thank you very much for sharing your story. Much love.